Hello everyone and a very warm welcome to this week's Everton show. It's been an eventful week for the Toffees, hasn't it? It always is, with FA Cup progress, a £13 million new signing and a Premier League victory against Newcastle United. To try and make sense of all that, and I use that term very loosely, we've got Graham Stuart in the studio this week. What a week, just what we needed.
It was, coming off the back of the disappointment of our exit in the Capital One Cup at Manchester City and all the controversy that surrounded that. We needed the lads to pick us all up, and they did that in perfect style. The away win at Carlisle in the Cup, a decent fifth round draw for me as well, away at Bournemouth, and then obviously the nice midweek game Wednesday night against Newcastle, which saw us get a more than welcome 3 points. So the lads have done us proud.
It just brings back the feel-good factor, because undoubtedly things were potentially about to get a little bit fractious.
Yeah, they could have been if it had all gone wrong, you know. I mean, it's banana skin tie up at Carlisle, wasn't it? The TV cameras there, obviously for the reason, thinking that there might be that banana skin. But that early goal from Maruna Kone, you know, gave us everybody a nice settling feeling. Aaron Lennon scored a magnificent goal, brilliant first touch for the second one. And Ross finished it off. So, and then to get the 3 points against Newcastle was the icing on the cake.
And this guy joined us as well, and we'll bring you Oumar Niasse's first ever interview in a Royal Blue jersey in a short while. And as we progress through this week's Everton show, we'll also hear from these charming people.
I hope that we can make our fans enjoy our football, enjoy our winnings, and make sure that everyone is proud of this good group of players that, in my eyes, are one of the most talented squads that we've ever had.
I'm a fighter. I can say I always give my best in the pitch, so that's made me to never give up. So I have something in my mind or who said me you can do it at any time.
Just playing with a bit of confidence now, and I felt comfortable doing that for the last pen, but the main thing was just winning the game, and we did that, and we kept the clean sheet, which is a confidence boost for the whole team.
When we got back to Belfield, we all had to go to the pub for a pint, even if it was only just one. You know, there was one or two stayed for 3 or 4, but usually it was just the one.
It's never been an easy place to go, Stoke, and as I say, the next 2 games are crucial, and we look forward to them.
Another packed Everton show for you this week. Well, only Romelu Lukaku and Marouane Fellaini have cost Everton Football Club more than the £13.5 million it took to prize Oumar Niasse away from Lokomotiv Moscow. We may not know a great deal about him, but the Senegalese international striker brings with him a pretty impressive football CV. And judging by his inaugural Finch Farm sit-down with the Everton show, he seems happy enough to be here.
It's a great day for me. It's a very great day because it was a dream for me to be in Premier League, and it's a big dream also to be in Everton. So I'm very, very happy and excited to be here. But I hope just everything gonna be well for the next 4 years.
What do you know about Everton as a football club?
As a club, I just know it's one of the big club here, about history, about fans, and about also like players. They have good players, especially they have a good young players, and this is something who can make you like to feel it's a good team and it's good environment, because if you see players like 20 years, 21, to be very, very, very performant like that, you know they have good coach and they have also good environment. So that's all I can see about players, and also they have good mix, because they have also some players over 30 years and they still be good. So you can see it's like a good family, I think. I didn't meet them, but that's what I'm seeing from outside.
You're a forward, you score goals, you set up goals, you create goals. What is your preferred position? Through the middle, out wide? You can play in quite a few positions.
I'm moving a lot in front. Like in Lokomotiv, I'm playing, these last 2 years, I'm playing almost alone up front. But I'm always moving to give like the space for the winger to come behind me or for the midfielder. So like if I have the opportunity to score, I'm going to go forward to score. But if I don't have it, I will try to make to give my the good position for the other players, like the winger or the midfielder who coming behind me. I leave them the space. Sometimes I move to the left. I like to move to the left, but from the middle to the left, I can move and give a lot of good ball or go to score.
What do you believe is your best quality, your best attribute?
I'm speed and I'm strong. I'm strong and I'm strong, but this is something you can have for your quality. But I think it's in my head. I'm a fighter. I can say I always give my best in the pitch, so that's made me to never give up. So I have something in my mind or who said me you can do it at any time. That I think is my first quality in my mind.
Well, by and large, despite the best efforts of Sky Sports News, deadline day passed by relatively quietly. There were a few deals that captured the imagination, but I would think that Evertonians closed the window with a bit more satisfaction than most. As usual, Roberto had done his homework thoroughly. His judgment was back to the hilt, and Everton had their man.
Okay, guys, you want a quick photograph over here, Oumar?
Robert, you want to do the first one?
Quick test, guys. Everything's fine. Right, gentlemen, just wait, please. That's great. Boys.
Assistant manager on with Oumar. Come on, don't take all the credit. Thank you.
Tony Ender. Oh, here we go. That's brilliant.
All done now, relax now? Yeah, well done.
Okay, guys, at the camera. Brilliant. Did you speak with Jimmy about your number? No? Which one would you?
I don't know which one is.
I'm a fighter. I can say I always give my best in the pitch, so that's made me to never give up. So I have something in my mind or who said me you can do it at any time. That I think is my first quality in my mind.
A little look behind the scenes there with our new man, Oumar Niasse. And as I said earlier, Graham, we don't know a great deal about him, but the clips I've seen on YouTube, and YouTube can be deceptive, but he scores some goals.
He has scored some goals, and you know, he said himself there, he's fit, he's strong. I like the bit there where he says he's hungry, and you know, all Evertonians will love that in any player that comes to our football club. But we wish Oumar every success.
There will be a settling in period, I would imagine. He's come from Russia, he's a Senegalese international striker. It might take him time to adapt to the English way of life, the Premier League way of life.
Yeah, I think so. It's a big move for him, isn't it? So we have to afford him that little bit of time to settle in. We hope he'll make an immediate impact, but I think we've got to be patient with him. And clearly he's going to be one for potentially next season rather than this season. You know, we'd like to think he'll add something, but I think we'll probably see the best of him next season.
Let's hope he can have the sort of impact that your old mate, Daniela McCarthy, had.
Yeah, Ramo was an infectious kind of character. You never really knew what was going to happen with Daniel, and if we didn't know, defenders certainly didn't know. So all in all, he was a great package, lovely, friendly guy, and always good to catch up with him.
And thanks to One Afternoon at Ellen Road, an Everton legend for life. Well, Roberto's record in the transfer market stands up against the best of them. Time will tell as to whether or not the boss has unearthed another gem, but for the time being, he's just delighted to have captured a quality footballer who's been on his radar for quite a while.
He's a player that we've been following for a long time, and you'd never know if you'll be able to clinch the deal and finish it off. And I must admit that the way that he arrived at Finch Farm, he feels a really right personality in a very good moment of his career. Someone that has had a lot of success in Russia, has been voted the best player in the Russian league, and he brings a little bit of a different type of quality that we have in our squad already. So really pleased to be able to bring Oumar at this window, and knowing that he's going to have a massive impact going forward and bringing a real desire and hunger to be successful in what's a very strong squad already.
We know he can play on the wing and as a main striker as well. What do you think his main strengths are?
Well, he's got a real good physicality. He's very strong and powerful, and he's not just scoring goals. I think he penetrates teams, he opens and stretches teams well in the final attacking line, which allows others to benefit from that work rate. He's growing all the time. His career has been going from his natal Senegal to Turkey and scoring a lot of goals there. He had a big step to the Russian league with the Lokomotiv, and now we feel that is the next step in his career, and as a strong, powerful striker that he can play in different positions, as you mentioned, is going to be a terrific addition, a fresh addition into a squad that, as I say, welcomes his ability as a player.
Diamond, if first impressions are anything to go by, the boy looks a character, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He went on a lap of honour there, didn't he, rather than anything else, and I'm sure that'll hopefully be the first of many for him. But no, he looks a confident lad, and as the gaffer said there, full of energy and strong, and what you tend to get with the African-based players is bundles of energy and a huge desire in their game. So I'm looking forward to seeing the young man play.
The Gaffer's record on the transfer market is very good, isn't it?
It is very good. I mean, when you look back, since he's been at the club, you look at the likes of Romelu coming in, James McCarthy, the loan signing of Gareth initially as well. They're British-based players and international players alike. It doesn't matter. The Gaffer's got a real good grasp of football as a whole, and if you speak to him, you recognise that pretty quickly. So we've been some success stories, that's for sure.
As I said, we probably don't know much about him. There won't be much the Gaffer doesn't know about him. So thorough is his preparation work.
Well, I think you have to be, don't you? Especially in the Premier League these days. £13.5 million is too much of an outlay to be making mistakes. So the Gaffer certainly would have done his homework, that's for sure.
The best of luck to Oumar Niasse at Everton Football Club. And that's just about it for the first segment of this week's show. After a short break, we'll return with a look at the latest victory for the under-21s. We'll reflect on the FA Cup tie up at Carlisle United, and we'll hear how the Everton's Fans Forum did their bit for the Cumbrian flood relief projects. Welcome to the second part of this week's Everton show. On Monday night at Finch Farm, a blustery Finch Farm, Everton under-21s continued their recent excellent form with a hard-fought 2-0 victory against Manchester United.
The game was switched to Finch Farm because the under-21's regular Southport home was waterlogged, but it didn't prevent the Young Blues recording an excellent victory over a United side, which included Adnan Januzaj. Everton began well, but had to wait until the 30th minute to take the lead, when Mason Holgate headed in Kieran Dowell's cross. United were probing for an equaliser after half-time, but it was Everton who struck a decisive second goal with 10 minutes to go, the goal coming via the head of Callum Dyson. He nodded in Sam Burns' cross to secure the victory and extend the unbeaten run to 7 games.
A fantastic, resilient performance, backs to the wall, a work ethic, a commitment for the cause, 2 great goals and a great clean sheet. And we had the wind in the first half, and it was really, like a hurricane. Really, 4 is in the first half, and then we had to battle against it in the second half. So it really was a top battling performance, and it was great to get a clean sheet, and it was great for the lads to get the win because they're in great form at the moment, and that's starting to show now with results against top teams, and United are a top team.
Yeah, it was a good performance from us all. I thought from start we just dominated, just wanted it more, got in the faces. Didn't think they really liked it, but did well. In tough conditions, it was windy, so we had to play to them as well.
Yeah, of course, we're in form ourselves, so we kind of, every game now, we expect to win, so we come into the game wanting to win. We're delighted to come out with a 2-0 victory in the end.
Graham, Munsey's under-21s are really in the groove at the moment. That's 4 straight wins, and you can't beat that sort of run.
No, that's what you want. You want to teach your players, and especially your young players, to get into that winning mentality. And clearly that was a big win for them, and we talk about the mental side of things, and clearly they had the conditions to deal with as well, and they showed that they were strong, and their attitude was spot on as well. I was up at Finch Farm last week and talking to David, and he's been very impressed with a number of individuals in that under-21 side.
You can't coach a winning mentality, can you? You can only prove it, I suppose.
Well, you can. I mean, the whole ethos at the football club is to get a winning mentality into these players, and so 4 on the spin is terrific. They'll look to continue that. Enjoy it while you can, because somewhere along the line you're going to lose. That's the nature of football. But then you set your next target to get on another winning run.
Nice to see Liam Walsh scoring for Yeovil as well. He's on loan down there at Yeovil, and he scored his first ever senior goal. It won't be his last.
No, it won't be his last. Walsh is a top little player, and again, we try and get these young players out, to experience some real football, I like to call it, in the nicest possible way, to experience what it's like in front of big crowds, and when it means a hell of a lot to the public to get you 3 points as well. So Walsh, it'll be better for the experience, I'm sure.
Just watching that clip there of the action against Manchester United, you could hear the wind blowing in the background. Even Unsey looked a little bit windswept. That, I would presume, is the worst condition for a footballer.
Yes, it is, no doubt about it. You can take snow, you can take the rain, any kind of conditions, but the wind plays such a major part, and it can ruin a game of football, both as a spectator and as a player as well. And that's why I say the mentality of the players clearly had to be good that night, and it was.
And when the wind blows at Finch Farm, it certainly blows, doesn't it? Well, Everton's fourth round FA Cup tie at Brunton Park against Carlisle United was perhaps surprisingly selected for live television broadcast. Or maybe the television moguls were being a little bit mischievous and they sniffed a potential cup upset. Whatever, Everton certainly didn't read the script, and in the event, the 3-0 outcome was every bit as comfortable as the scoreline would indicate. This is what Brian Oviedo made of it all.
We come to here to the conviction to win the game. That is the most important. We need to play every game like today. I think that they start the game in the beginning with a winning mentality and continue like that in all the match.
How pleased were you to get the assist for Aaron Lennon's goal?
Well, I'm happy to help the team with an assist. Is very nice, and I hope so continue with the top level I can. All the time I try to play, continue for help the team. I think the last year was not good for me because so many injuries, but now I feel more confidence, and every game I play I feel better and better.
You managed to get forward a lot, do a lot of attacking today. Did you enjoy yourself out there?
Yeah, especially the first half was very good in the attacking. I need to continue like that and also work more hard. I think the most important for me is being in the team, in the squad every game.
You switched over to the right-hand side at the end and you played there in a couple of earlier games as well. How do you find it over on the right-hand side?
Well, at the moment it's not a easy position for me because I'm left back, but every time the mister need to me to play there, I try to do the best for me and for the team. It's not easy, but now I'm a little more confident. Just need to continue training or playing in the position for be better all the time.
It's good for you though, isn't it? You want to play as much as possible, so if you can play in more than one position, you get more chances.
Yeah, it's good. If I have two positions for play, it's more chances for me. And at the moment, now today was very difficult. It's not easy. FA Cup and away is so difficult.
Graham, we'll talk about this tie very shortly, Everton and Carlisle in the FA Cup. But first of all, a quick word about Brian Oviedo.
Oh, he's done terrific, hasn't he, Brian? It's always great to see him back, and we're always praying that he gets a good run of games under his belt because he's had such a bad run of luck with injuries and what have you. But whether it be left back, left-sided midfield or right back, which can be difficult at times for a left footer, Brian never lets us down, does he?
That was a banana skin of a tie, a potential upset in the FA Cup. We needed a good start and got one.
We got the ideal start, didn't we? Aaron Lennon breaking down on the right-hand side, picks out Aruna Kone. Centre-forwards love a 2-yard tap-in, don't they, as well? So, you know, that really settled everybody down, especially on the back of the Manchester City game. And the lads would have felt a little bit of pressure because they know that it was a potential banana skin, as I said at the top of the show. But Aaron then gets a terrific second goal. It looks like an easy finish, but it's not, because his first touch has to be absolutely perfect. Second touch goes in under the goalkeeper. And then Ross produced a little bit of magic for the third one, albeit with a little bit of a deflection, but we've seen that from Ross before. We know he's got dynamite in his boots.
The key word from the afternoon was control. We had to control the game and manage the game because one goal for Carlisle changes the whole atmosphere.
Well, we saw that. We saw it at Chelsea, didn't we, when we played terrifically well and we get to a 2-0 lead and then Chelsea get one back and all of a sudden the wheels come off a little bit. So it was important that we saw the time out and managed the game as best we can. I think we restricted them to a couple of half chances more than anything, but a real good solid away performance. That's just exactly what you want in the Cup.
FA Cup round 5, Bournemouth away. Could have been better, could have been worse.
Yeah, I think when you get to the 5th round, you have to expect that you're going to get a decent side. Bournemouth are certainly that, and they're in a rich vein of form as well, it must be said. So it won't be easy, but I think we showed, especially in the early stages of the Premier League game, we can go down there and it shouldn't hold any fears for us. Some of our best performances so far this season have come away from Goodison Park.
I don't think I could stand another 3-3 draw at Bournemouth though, Graham.
No, can't handle that. The old ticker's not ready for that again.
It'll be a great tie whenever it's played, by the way. Well, that FA Cup 4th round tie at Carlisle was played in a true spirit of comradeship between the two sets of supporters. The Carlisle fans gave Ross Barkley a rousing reception when he was subbed in the second half, and for their part, the Evertonians had passed over a cheque in excess of £9,000 to help the football club rebuild after the terrible floods that hit the area. That figure is still rising, by the way, so very well done to everyone involved. Now, Steve Clarkson is a Carlisle fan, Steve Soley is an Evertonian former Carlisle United player, and Peter Dodd is an Everton fans forum member. You still with me? Well, between them, they tell us all about the fundraising work.
Oh, we're delighted. We set up the Just Giving page just over a week or so ago, and within that time we've raised £8,000 from the supporters of Everton. So it was we're delighted. I mean, having seen the difficulties that the club's been in, we're very happy with the generosity and the amount we've been able to get from the club.
Simon, how much of a difference will it make to the club?
Well, it's just a fantastically kind gesture, and we've seen this throughout football, not just clubs hosting our home away games, but sponsors and businesses and the efforts from individuals. You know, fans turned up in the hundreds down here to help clear the ground, many of whom have got their own personal devastations back at home. It's been a really galvanising experience from the manager and the players, everybody chipping in. It's just a tremendous feeling, the spirit that's come through in really tough times.
Steve, how important is it that the football family pulls together at times like this?
Yeah, it's massively important, and Everton have shown the way now, and we're hoping that other clubs now join in and put their hand in the pocket and raise some money. Like you said, coming down here, being afar, you don't really realise when you come down seeing all them skips and people living in the top floor of their houses. Really it's home. So the football family now, have got to help these people out.
Graham, this is Brunton Park where we played Carlisle United last weekend. This was a few weeks before the tie. How did they get that game on?
That's an unbelievable effort from everybody concerned, volunteers alike up in Carlisle. I'm sure the community up there came together and done everything they possibly could to get that clean-up operation sorted out as quickly as can. Obviously, they got the pitch relayed as well. So for us to, produce a gesture like that, which is still ongoing, as you mentioned, Darren, was terrific from us, but richly deserved as well, because you can only imagine what the people have been through up there.
It is a separate community, isn't it, the football community? It's so close-knit, so powerful at times.
Well, it is, and it should be as well. I mean, we're very fortunate. We're a Premier League club. We're playing, football at a very, very, advantageous time financially as well. So, some of these clubs get forgotten about a little bit down the line in terms of the finances. So it was good for us to pass some of that down.
Nice gesture from the Carlisle supporters during the game. A little courtesy that's often lost in the game. Ross Barkley gets substituted and the Carlisle fans gave him a great reception.
Yeah, I mean, it's not every week they get the opportunity to see the likes of Ross Barkley. So, Ross had a terrific game. He was, I'm sure they were excited to see our players as much as how they would get on against us. But, yeah, nice to see that. It's very rare, isn't it, that an opposing player gets clapped off.
Played well, Ross, didn't he? He's in good form.
He is in good form and he's scoring goals as well, which is important for him. And I think it shows a huge amount of character from Ross as well, because he had a difficult time last season along with a few others. And he totally transformed his form and the thinking of everybody around the football club. And every credit goes to him. He can go from strength to strength.
Confidence is a big part of his game, isn't it? And he certainly looks a confident boy right now. And that nicely brings us to the midway point in this week's Everton show. It's our popular big interview feature coming up after this short break. And this week we sit down with the most successful captain in the history of Everton Football Club. Welcome back to part 3 of this week's show, and a big interview that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Now, only Neville Southall, Brian LeBone, Dave Watson and Ted Sager have played more times for Everton Football Club than Kevin Ratcliffe. During his 493 first-team appearances, Rats lifted 2 league titles, an FA Cup and, of course, a European trophy, and he scored 2 goals. A lifelong Blue, he's a regular at Goodison Park as often as his media commitments will allow. He sat down with the Everton show earlier this week and began by reflecting on the sad passing of Howard Kendall.
The history that he created, everybody knows about, but how cute he was in some sort of ways. When you see this modern game now, there's a lot of good things and there's a lot of bad things. He was a manager, he was a coach, he was a psychologist, and he was somebody you could talk to. He was everything, to a lot of the lads. And when you think about it, I was 23 when he gave me the captaincy. There was a lot of lads, a lot younger than me. There's 3 or 4 lads younger than me, but the main sort of part of us was like in our sort of round about my age, 23, 24. I think Reedy and Andy Gray were 28. So, they were the older statesmen, along with the lad Jim Arnold, who looked a lot older than anybody. So, but what he did is he actually brought in a responsibility. He gave us responsibilities, and I'd like to think that we paid him back in the way that he treated us. We were still really relatively young, but it was the way that he treated us and give us that little bit of a leeway to become adults very, very quickly. And like I said, that was, I don't know if it was fortuitous or he knew exactly what he was doing, but knowing him, he most probably knew exactly what he was doing.
Yeah. And you talk about that camaraderie. I think that's one of the things that came out of every anecdote about sort of Howard's time as a player, Howard's time as a manager, and particularly that group of lads in the 80s, that camaraderie and
it
that
just didn't
closeness.
That's the one thing, it didn't come overnight. He worked at it from the state of playing a game, an away game. On the way, when we got back to Belfield, we all had to go to the pub for a pint, even if it was only just one. It was one or two stayed for 3 or 4, but usually it was just the one. And he would sit there, you'd have the pint, he would buy the round, and then you could go. The famous Chineses we had, they were usually coming around when things weren't going quite well. There was a sticky patch. So there was a good thing about them, but a bad thing really on the footballing side, because usually the things weren't going quite well, and he wanted it to find out, maybe off 1 or 2 of the lads. He's quite cute in that way. But the way that he galvanised the team, nobody was treated really any differently. And he was a hard taskmaster. If you didn't do what he asked him, you were out. There was no danger about that. You were out. Out of the team, you could be out of the club. He was a stiff disciplinarian. And if you cross that line the wrong way, then you got to pay for it. And the good thing about him, that he had disciplinarians within the team as well. Notably everybody, because you'd be a second late and everybody wanted you to pay the fine. I always think these days people see it as a grass for doing that, but it was all part of the team building.
Did that make it an easy team to captain?
It was pretty easy. When you're in a successful side and things are running smoothly, there's not a lot you have to do as captain. Not that I thought there was any different than what I was doing anyway. And I've seen captains, like Mick Lyons, who maybe took it on to a different level. I always thought Lyonsy was a perfect captain. Whatever was going on, he'd be there. He'd be at hospitals. He'd be sort of coffee mornings or whatever he could do for Everton fans. He'd be there. In fact, I thought he did a little. I didn't want to get too involved in that side, but Lyonsy was a perfect captain in that way. But you take the good things, from them, and like you say, your time's your own as well. So you've got to. But I thought I handled it pretty well. I think, over the time it's proved that it worked. But, it's got to work between everybody, the players, the manager and the captain and the club. So.
Yeah. And looking at that team, you mentioned how young everybody was in that team. I think we forget how young a number of players in that team were. And then we look at the current Everton team, and there are a lot of young players. Uh-huh. Is that something that is good for the team to have so much young blood at the same time?
Yeah, I think that it's got to be blended in with a bit of experience around there. Jags is important. I think Tim Howard's important as well. That you need them type of players. We had Reedy, we had Andy Gray that had come in on loan. Terry couldn't come in. Although, maybe Terry wasn't a regular earlier on. Dave Johnson was there at the football club. These players who had got experience were coming in. And maybe, Howard didn't realise how quickly these players were actually going to progress. And I think that's what maybe hit Howard. Because remember, he brought in quite a number of players when he first signed. And I think we just progressed maybe too quick. And these players were really, I wouldn't say they were bad signings. But, the younger lads, myself, I think, Kevin Richardson, Trevor Seaman, who was a buy, Gary Stevens, Graham Sharp, coming in. Steve McMahon was one of them, but he was, he was let go. So, it was one of them that I think and especially like Sir Gary and Gary Stevens and Kevin Richardson, you know, because they were like 2-3 years younger than the likes of myself. So, you know, Kevin Richardson, I think, was only about 20-21 when he played in the cup final. Same with Gary Stevens, Derek Mountfield.
I mean, looking back to that 83-84 season that started terribly, things looked pretty grim. And then there was a cup run that almost galvanised the confidence and galvanised the team unit.
You know, there's a bit of luck along the way. You know, you've got to have that luck. It doesn't matter what team you're in. You've got to have that luck. Howard could not get the blend in midfield that he wanted. And I think that against Coventry, when Reedy come on in the third round of the League Cup, that, you know, that was a turning point. Reedy was a starter. But before that, Reedy wasn't a starter. You know, he was really sort of couldn't really get the right blend, you know, in midfield. And when, I think him and Rico hit it off. And then I think when Kev Sheedy picked up an injury, Rico went out to the left wing, and I think we dropped Adrian Heath into midfield because Inchie wasn't having a great time up front, as in scoring goals. He was a great player to play with, but I think he was missing too many chances. And to relieve the pressure off Inchie, he dropped him into midfield, and it worked a treat. And sometimes you just fall upon things. I think that was a night that he fell upon Reedy, being Reedy what he was for the football club.
Graham, we've said this before, it doesn't matter what guests we have on the Everton show. If they've got anecdotes or stories or reflections about Howard Kendall, we could listen to them all day.
Of course, and yet another player who Howard had a huge impact on his life and his career. And Howard, as you heard in the piece there, gave him the captaincy at 23 years of age. I didn't realise that at the time, but you know, that's a big ask for Kevin. And it's important because if you're going to announce as a captain, you've got to make sure he's got a strong character about him, especially at 23 years of age, in and around the kind of experienced players, your Andy Grays and your Peter Reeds, who might look down and think, hang on a minute, 23 years of age, well, you know, I should have been the captain. But Kevin clearly, as we saw over the years he played for us, was a strong character, could deal with the situation, never let the captaincy affect his game. That's important as well.
It was a great decision, a brave decision by Howard to make a 23-year-old captain. Do you think Howard will have spoken to Reedy and Andy and said, this is what I'm going to do?
Maybe we did. We'll never know. I mean, I think Howard was strong enough to just make his own decisions, and he didn't really care if it upset anybody. You know, that's what he was going to do, and he had the courage of his convictions. But then again, another part of me thinks Howard, being Howard, would have pulled Reedy and Andy Gray and said to him, listen, just to mark your card here, this is what I'm thinking about doing, just out of respect for them as well.
Lovely little tale about the players coming back to Belfield after an away game, everybody going to the pub, even if it's only for one. Yeah. And Howard placed such importance on camaraderie at the time, and I would think in your day as well.
Very much so, yeah. I mean, he was a real players person, Howard. We've talked about this before, but he really was, and it was important. He off the park was every bit as important on the park to Howard, because he recognised that that's where you built your team spirit, and he wanted everybody together, even if you didn't fancy having a pint. You know, just have the one and then get yourself off. I think Kev was, you know, lying a little bit about the 3 or 4. I'm thinking more 8s and 9s myself. But no, that was all part of Howard's, you know, mental thinking. You know, to make sure everybody's together. You know, we all stick together as a side, and then on a Saturday afternoon when you need it, you're all digging in together.
Number 5 in the all-time Everton appearance list, 493 games, 2 goals. Surely you'd fluke a couple along the way somewhere, wouldn't you?
You'd like to think so somewhere. Even Snod scored more than 2. But no, I mean, you offset that with the fact that Derek Mountfield played an awful lot of games alongside Kev, and we know how prolific Derek was as a centre-half. Then Dave Watson comes along, and Waggy scored his fair few as well. So, you know, Kev did what he did best, defended really well, good pace, organised everybody around him. So we can't have too much of a go about him about his 2 goals. Come on, Des.
Well, one was against Liverpool, so we'll forgive him anything. You mentioned Waggy there, Dave Watson. Was he the best skipper you had?
I think so. Yeah, I'm an imposing figure. You know, somebody you walked in the dressing room and you looked at him and you knew he was your captain. You know, if Waggy said something to you, you listened and you took it on board, and if you didn't, you were getting a clip round the ear next time. So, you know, and he led by example on the park as well. Again, somebody who could deal with the pressures of being the captain. He was 8 out of 10 every week, so he was consistent. No, terrific captain, and he got the bonus ball at the end of it all and picking that cup up in 1995, which was terrific for him.
He's still got that aura about him, hasn't he, Wag? He still fills any room he walks in. And that's just about it for part 3. You've got just enough time to put the kettle on before we're back with part 4, when we reflect on the Newcastle win with Ross and the boss, and we start the countdown to our visit to Stoke City on Saturday with James McCarthy. Welcome back to the fourth and final part of this week's Everton show. Well, certain pundits were labelling our Barclays Premier League fixture with Newcastle United on Wednesday night as a must-win game for the Blues. But if the pressure was on, it certainly didn't show on the pitch. The Toffees won 3-0. It was a thoroughly deserved 3 points. And this is the post-match appraisal of Roberto Martinez.
Well, I think it was a very important game for us. 3 points that I think they are more significant than just a win, where we are in the table, where we're looking forward to try to get this season. I thought it was a real important point in our campaign. We were facing a team that they had a lot of time to prepare this game. We had 2 cup competitions. Newcastle worked really well and for 10 days, and you could see that early on in the game. They were well organised. But I thought the way we managed the game was probably what we missed in all the home performances this campaign. We kept a really good clean sheet. We defended well. We created chances, and probably the second goal would have changed completely the scoreline a lot earlier. But it was a really mature performance, a performance that it shows that we've learned a lot of how we have to play at home and how we have to use our quality. But the work rate and the intensity of our performance was very impressive. The amount of games that we have in a short period of time, being able to perform in that manner, is very pleasing to see. 3 worthy points, and for me a real start in how we should be from now till the end of the season at home at Goodison. Another 6 vital games, and I hope that we can make our fans enjoy our football, enjoy our wins, and make sure that everyone is proud of this good group of players that, in my eyes, are one of the most talented squads that we've ever had.
Oumar, watching on from the stands, will have been mightily impressed, surely, with what he saw from his new teammates.
Well, it's important to allow him to feel at home and to allow him to understand Everton. He's been watching us from afar, and I think today to get that feel of understanding Goodison is a real good introduction. I saw him before and he was very touched, and he felt that he's ready to get on the pitch and help the team. I think it's quite important to get that first impression as a player to our fans, and the same way as a player to get that feel of the fans was a real good start. Looking forward to see him training tomorrow.
Does Ross Barkley's second penalty highlight just how confident he is and the level he's playing at this moment in time?
Well, I think Ross, obviously 100 games in the Premier League today is a big landmark at the age of 22. For me, Ross is not a young man anymore with potential. He's a reality. He's a very important player for us with an incredible focal point in our team. The way he played throughout the game was very impressive and just highlights the consistency that he had this season. And the second penalty is just a very confident man with an incredible technical ability. But I think Ross's performances, they got into a different level from where he was last season. That probably was a young man with a lot of potential. I think now is a reality that we can all be very, very proud at Everton.
Graham, we used the word control when we discussed the Carlisle United FA Cup tie a little bit earlier in the show, and I think the word control was very much applicable on Wednesday night, because at 1-0 it's a little bit edgy, especially for Everton.
Yeah, well, we never do anything easily, do we, as Evertonians? But certainly, especially the first half, I felt we were totally dominant in the game. I think it was unfortunate that we hadn't got that second goal that we probably deserved on overall play in that first 45 minutes. But you knew that Newcastle were going to come out in that second half, and that's where you get that little bit of edginess until we go ahead and score that second goal. But overall, you know, I don't remember Joel having to make too many vital saves. So I think we defended very well. I think we were, you know, impressive going forward at times as well, and could have scored more.
On many occasions, you've championed the cause of Aaron Lennon. Made one, scored one against Carlisle. Made one, scored one against Newcastle. He's in good nick.
I think he's in good nick. I like Aaron, I always have done. I think he gives you a bit of both. I think he can, you know, he can excite in attacking areas as he's made a name for himself, but defensively as well. His work rate is unbelievable. You know, he's not afraid to put his foot in. He'll do a good shift for the team. Any player is vital to you like that.
Clean sheet was important, wasn't it?
Vitally important, yeah. It gives everybody confidence at the back.
Well, those two late penalties from Ross Barkley have moved the young midfielder into double figures for goals this season, and that's for the first time in his professional career. After the game, Ross spoke to the TV cameras about the win and about his audacious second spot kick.
Just playing with a bit of confidence now, and I felt comfortable doing that and for the last pen, but the main thing was just winning the game, and we did that and we kept the clean sheet, which is a confidence boost for the whole team.
Yeah, the second goal took a while to come, but when you factor in the amount of times you've hit the woodwork, that could have been 4 or 5-0 tonight.
Yeah, we knew that it was coming. We had a few chances, and their keeper pulled off a few great saves, but we still pushed for the second goal and the third, and we got them in the end.
Do you think with the good performance against Manchester City, even though you go to the Cup, obviously you win then in the FA Cup, do you think a corner is being turned at the moment by Everton?
Yeah, we're just focusing on each game as it comes and trying to get 3 points in each game. But today, main thing for us was getting the 3 points, which we did do.
And have you scored one of those Panenka penalties before?
Only at the training ground. Yeah.
That's a young man full of confidence, as that demonstrates.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, you can afford yourself the time to do that when it's pretty much the last kick of the game. What impressed me more, Darren, was the first one, because Ross sprinted across to go and get that ball, and he knew it was going to be a vital penalty, because as we've already mentioned, at 1-0 there's still that air of fear that they can break away and score the goal that they wouldn't have deserved on the night. But so for Ross to bury the first penalty to put us 2-0 up showed me that he's a man who's prepared to take the responsibility of getting us over the line.
I remember when John Stones did that, but it was a pre-season friendly, albeit against Juventus, but it was a pre-season friendly in San Francisco. If you're going to try that penalty in the Premier League, it's got to come off, hasn't it?
Well, it's got to come off, because otherwise you end up with egg on your face. But, in John Stones and Ross Barkley, we've got two prestigious talents and two young men full of confidence and not afraid to express that.
Double figures for goals as well.
Brilliant. Really, really good. If you're an attacking midfield player, you've got to be scoring a minimum of 6 to 8 goals a season. And Ross has eclipsed that already. And, there's no reason why he can't be looking at 15, 16 goals for the season. And that would be a really, really good return for the young man.
I'm sure Roy Hodgson is just as pleased as Roberto Martinez. Well, this weekend takes us up to the Britannia Stadium to face Stoke City. It's a showdown, of course, between the beaten semi-finalists in the Capital One Cup. And it's a away fixture that Everton haven't won since 2008. I can tell you Segundo Castillo, remember him? He was in the Blues team that day. Well, a key figure this time around will be James McCarthy. His return to match fitness has been most welcome for Roberto Martinez, given that the unfortunate Mo Besic faces another spell on the sidelines. Our Irish international midfielder is looking forward to the always challenging visit to Stoke at the weekend.
It's never been an easy place to go, Stoke, and as I say, the next 2 games are crucial, and we look forward to them.
We talked about bad luck earlier on, possible that we were wrongly penalised, given a penalty against us against Stoke last time. Is it a case of we want to right that wrong?
Yeah, well, that's it. It's always frustrating losing games, and on the day we could have nicked it, and obviously we've ended up losing it, which is very frustrating. But as you say, it's a few decisions have maybe cost us. That one at home against Stoke, which didn't go our way, but now we look forward to going there and addressing things and trying to take maximum points there.
It was a crazy game. If you look at Stoke over the years when you've played against them, have you seen a change in them under Mark Hughes?
Yeah, they're a passing side now, and obviously back in the day when they used to be a lot of long balls, but to be fair to them, they got results, and they're getting results now with their new style of play. But as I say, no matter what, it's going to be a tough game, and any Stoke side you've ever faced is always going to be tough.
Graham, as I mentioned in the introduction to the piece of film there with James McCarthy, we've not won at the Britannia since 2008. It just always seems a difficult place to go.
Well, it is. That's because it is. I've been there as a player myself, and it is tough going down there. It's not the most appealing of places to play football, if I'm totally honest with you. But we've got to turn that round, and we've got to go and take the momentum from Wednesday night against Newcastle into that game Saturday and get ourselves further up that table, because we're more than capable of doing that.
What adds to the difficulty of playing Stoke City away is the locals they can make a noise, can't they?
They do make a noise, and a terrific fan base there down at Stoke, and old Delilah will be roaring out, won't it? So, but we've got to quieten them down. First and foremost, that first 20 minutes, we've got to try and quieten the crowd down and give ourselves an advantage. We've got some terrific players. Young Ross there is in good form, and Romelu hopefully will be back as well after he's picking up a little bit of a niggle Wednesday night, and we've got to give ourselves a platform and an opportunity to pick up another 3 points.
Just concentrate on our own game, basically.
That's it. Look after yourself. If we do what we can do well, we're always going to give ourselves a chance to pick up 3 points, and hopefully the lads will do that Saturday.
Stoke City versus Everton at the Britannia at the weekend. And that's just about it for another Everton show. It's been a good week, hasn't it? There's a real feeling that the second half of the season is underway now, and that the Blues have a terrific platform on which to build a strong, exciting finish to the campaign. Thanks for joining us again this week. My thanks to the Diamond for his company. And by the way, next week we'll be joined on the Everton show sofa by David Unsworth. We'll see you then.